Hegemony, understanding power that persuades. 1. Conceptual foundations of hegemony. The concept of hegemony originates from the Italian Marxist theorist Antonio Gramsci, who sought to understand how power is maintained in capitalist societies not only through coercion, but more crucially, through consent. Gramsci argued that the ruling class sustains its dominance not merely by overt force, for example, military or police, but by securing the voluntary acceptance of its leadership, ideas, and worldviews by subordinate groups. This consent is cultivated through culture, education, religion, media, and everyday practices, what he called the apparatuses of civil society. In this sense, hegemony refers to the common-sense worldviews that come to be seen as natural, universal, and inevitable, even when they are deeply unequal, exploitative, or oppressive. The most effective kind of domination is that which appears invisible and feels like freedom. 2. Key insights from this concept of hegemony. Power is cultural and ideological. Hegemony reveals that ideas are political weapons. The control of institutions such as schools, media, and churches allows dominant groups to shape public consciousness. What people believe is right, possible, or desirable. Domination is maintained through consent. People often participate in their own marginalization, not because they are ignorant or weak, but because they have been socialized into hegemonic norms that appear morally or socially correct. For example, individualism, meritocracy, patriarchy, respectability. Common sense is historically produced. What is accepted as normal, be it colonial language hierarchies, patriarchal family structures, or neoliberal economic models, is the product of historical struggle, not an objective truth. Hegemony is never total or permanent. Gramsci emphasized that hegemony must be constantly renegotiated, which means there is always space for resistance and counter-hegemonic struggle. This is the critical space in which emancipatory research and activism operate. 3. Relevance in the critical research paradigm. Within the critical paradigm, hegemony becomes a diagnostic tool, a way of exposing how knowledge, identities, and institutions are shaped by ideologies that serve dominant interests. It serves as a core, analytical framework in fields like critical pedagogy, post-colonial studies, critical race theory, feminist critique, and discourse analysis. In methodology, researchers analyze hegemonic discourses in policies, curricula, media, and organizational practices. Research questions often aim to uncover whose voices are privileged, whose are silenced, and how dominant narratives are naturalized. In epistemology, hegemony challenges the authority of Eurocentric knowledge systems, promoting epistemic justice and the validation of indigenous, feminist, and subaltern knowledges. In practice, critical researchers engage with communities to co-create knowledge that resists dominant ideologies and empowers marginal voices. 4. Applicability in social justice discourse. Education. Hegemony helps unpack how the curriculum often reflects the values of dominant cultures, promoting assimilation while marginalizing indigenous languages, Black epistemologies, or non-Western histories. Critical pedagogy, for example, Freire, uses this understanding to decolonize education and make learning liberatory. Media and representation. Social justice analyses of film, advertising, and news use the concept of hegemony to reveal how stereotypes, gender roles, and racial hierarchies are perpetuated under the guise of entertainment or objectivity. Gender and patriarchy. Hegemony reveals how patriarchal norms are presented as natural, boys will be boys, good mothers stay home, and how gendered oppression is normalized through language, culture, and law. Neoliberalism and market ideology. The hegemonic belief that the market is the ultimate solution to all social problems has led to the privatization of education, healthcare, and housing, often with devastating effects on the poor. Critical scholarship interrogates how neoliberal rationality invades our ethics, identities, and public systems. Post-colonial resistance. In formerly colonized societies, hegemonic structures linger in language, legal systems, bureaucracies, and mindsets. Hegemony explains how colonized subjects may internalize inferiority. Anti-colonial research seeks to deconstruct this and reclaim ontologies of the oppressed. 5. From hegemony to counter-hegemony. The task of the critical scholar is not only to expose hegemonic structures, but to build counter-hegemonic narratives, institutions, and practices that affirm the dignity and agency of the oppressed. This includes transformative education that centers marginalized histories, participatory research that gives voice to the silenced, radical policy critique that challenges dominant interests, creative expression, for example, poetry, storytelling, and art, as acts of resistance. Gramsci himself believed in the need for organic intellectuals, those who emerge from within communities to challenge hegemonic ideology and help craft new consciousness. Conclusion. Seeing beyond the fog. To invoke hegemony in research is to look beyond what appears to be self-evident, to question whose interests are being served, and to envision alternative futures. For social justice-oriented scholarship, the concept of hegemony is not merely analytical, it is liberatory. It arms us with the intellectual tools to understand the world as it is and the moral courage to reimagine it as it could be. Happy learning!